So the Mets, as I mentioned, a lot to go right with the bullpen. I think for the Yankees, the same thing was thought about with the starting rotation. A lot seemed to have to go right to them. And so far, things are going right. I mean, we've seen Kluber, we've seen Tyone tonight pitch decent, pitch pretty well, pitch not too bad. The bats have come alive, have found it over the last few games. And Mike, I know you got the Yankees hat. You're supporting the team tonight. What do you have to say about your team here after the first 6 games of the season?
Yeah, I think the Yanks are. I think they're in a good spot right now. It's nice to see Cole get out there, and he's Garrett Cole again, and he's going out there and he's giving you scoreless 1-2 run ball games when he pitches. I liked what I saw from Kluber. I think that he's going to be good for the team. You had him on a short leash in this first game, but that's understandable. I hope the Yanks are going to let him loose for 6 or 7 inning starts. That would be something that would be big and a relief for the bullpen. I think the thing that's really different about this Yankees is that the bats seem a little more silent or slow than they have been in years past. Usually it's the other way around, and we have like big time 7-8 ball games where there's a lot of runs and a lot of home runs. But this year there's not been that. It's been pitching duels for the Yankees for the most part, especially tonight. And I think that it's going to be really important to see how this team comes together, and specifically the outfield. Is Clint Frazier going to be a legit left fielder for the Yankees? I'm a believer. Not everyone is. How do Hicks and Gardner, what happens with them? Who ends up playing in center mostly? So I think that's the biggest question for the Yankees right now. It's not the pitching. I think that's going to work itself out for the first time in a while for the Yankees. But how is the outfield going to work, and what's the best combination there? It's probably my biggest question from here on out.
I'm surprised that you said that the pitching is going to work itself out, or maybe that you're so optimistic about the pitching.
I don't know. I just saw the Italian pitch tonight. He pitched well. Cole last night, I was watching the game. He pitched really well. Kluber looked good. When you got 3 guys that look good like that, and then Severino might come back post All-Star break, I think 4 guys is good enough to get you through the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing for me is that's how I think about it, because I've been very critical of the Yankees in terms of starting the rotation, because that's where I see the biggest weakness on this team. I think the bats will find itself, I seem to believe. As you said, they've done it in years past as well, and it's basically the same lineup out there. I mean, Garrett Cole's going to be Garrett Cole, and that's a whole nother discussion. He's an unbelievable pitcher, and he's obviously going to be the ace of this rotation. But outside of that, for me, Kluber and Montgomery are 2 big ones that have impressed me early on. I think Kluber had a nice start, first good start. I think his first start in years, which is very good for him to kind of get his feet under himself. Didn't pitch too long, but did what he had to do. And I'd say relatively impressed in his first start. And Montgomery was very good as well. He pitched on Monday night against the O's. He pitched very well, and Tyone has done a pretty good job tonight in Game 3 of the series. So for me, those guys are very much key after Garrett Cole, because for me, between Kluber, between Tyone, and between Severino, who you mentioned, who should come back at the second half, right around the All-Star break. For me, 2 of those 3 guys, I think, need to be good and need to stay healthy and need to hit for this Yankees team, because from there you have Garrett Cole, one of those, 2 of those 3, like I mentioned. Let's say it's Kluber and Severino, and then you have Montgomery as your number 4, and I'd say that's a pretty good rotation come playoff. I don't really worry about this Yankees team in the American League. I don't really worry about this team winning the division, to be honest. I mean, the Blue Jays have looked pretty good, but their rotation still is just not quite there. The lineup's awesome. The lineup's really fun to watch, but the rotation just isn't quite there for them. So I don't see them seriously contending for the division, at least. Certainly a wild card, but not the division. I think this division is the Yankees to lose for sure. But come playoff time, I think you need a really good rotation. You need 2 of those 3 guys, like I mentioned, to hit. Have a really solid group of 4 in that rotation that's healthy. And then you need the lineup to stay healthy, which is another big thing too. I mean, Gary Sanchez playing well, that's a huge benefit. That's a huge positive sign for Yankee fans. Judge and Stanton hitting home runs, getting kind of their legs underneath them as well is a big sign. To me, the bullpen has looked pretty good as well. Michael King looked very good. Loaizaga looked pretty good as well in the times he's came into the game. So that's important too. Kind of the long bullpen for them will certainly play a role. And Britton's not even back yet. So once he's back, that'll add another dimension out there. So for me, it starts and ends with the starting pitching, to be honest. But, I guess when it comes to the Yankees, like I kind of mentioned with the Mets, there's a lot to be optimistic about for sure. Like I mentioned, that offense is going to continue to produce. That's a huge part of this. That rotation, if they can stay healthy for the most part, they'll be in really good shape, I could say, for the future and setting up a deep playoff run for the Yankees.
Yeah, I definitely see both like teams having great potential, Mets and Yankees. I just think what worries me a little with the Yankees is that we struggle at times with timely hits, and I think that's the biggest thing the Yankees can work to improve. I mean, last night early in the first inning, bases loaded, and you get 3 strikeouts at the end of the inning. So it's things like that that have killed them and gotten them losses early in the year. Only 6 games, so there's a lot of improvement for the Yanks, but I still think that's one way you can focus is getting guys in the lineup. They're going to get hits at the right time. The pitching's always been a concern with the Yankees. And I think every time you're talking about the Yankees, it's always been the pitching. And the front office knows it. I think the whole team knows that the pitching is somewhere they can get better at, both starting and relieving. But when the bats aren't coming alive and that's your identity, that's when you worry. So that's what I would say is the biggest worry for the Yankees right now. When you lose your identity, then it's going to be tough for you moving forward. So I think they got to find that and get back on track. I mean, this is a team that's top 2 in home runs almost every year. I mean, them and the Twins have gone back and forth for the past 2 years. So I think that it's important for the Yankees to get back on that pedestal. And then the starting pitching, like every year, is just going to have to find a way to grind it out because your identity is a home run hitting team that's going to knock in guys when they get on base. And I think that needs to continue for them to be a serious contender this year.